morning, everyone. Welcome back for another fantastic class today. Another theory class for you, but we'll be doing a few activities and everything today for you. So today we're going to be looking at new technologies in graphic design and how they affect our work processes. So why do we need to know about new technologies? Well, it keeps us current and it keeps us on the ball so that we can remain competitive in our market. So today's session is going to be taking 40 minutes. And by the end of the session, I hope you'll have a greater knowledge of how to monitor new technologies and work processes in graphic design. So just before we get started, I'll just go through a bit of housekeeping for you. So you've just come in the door there, so for emergency exits, it is out that door and then back out to the entrance point that you came in, or if that's blocked, we do have another exit down the back. Our toilets are down the back, you just follow the hallway and they're on your right. First aid is down there as well, and tea and coffee is a little kitchen that you would have passed on your way coming in. Okay? Great, so let's get started, shall we? So in recent years, the graphic design world has grown and evolved rapidly as new technologies have emerged. In the 70s, graphic designers only had tools like rubber cement, X-Acto knives, erasers, portion wheels, and illustration boards to help create logos, posters, and other advertisements that they had. So with this, they didn't have computers or anything like that. So when computers did come across, they had things like Corel PageMaker, which was one of the first design applications available, and that actually helped to start the revolution of graphic design as we know it today, and it has changed the whole work process. So the three biggest changes in technology in recent years that have influenced graphic design and our processes, in my opinion, are the invention of computers, the internet, and smartphones. So we'll go into a bit more depth with these in the next 40 minutes, and we'll go through that for you. So, with the quote that I've got up here, so there is technology as we know it today has had such a massive influence, has such a massive influence on the world as we know today. And there's multiple generations that have grown up not knowing what the world was like without the internet. Heaven forbid everyone had to, look at an encyclopedia or something to be able to get all the information that they wanted. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a short video. It's only about 8.5 minutes long, just to give you a background of how we got to where we are today, how design has evolved. Just so we're all on the same page, so we know where we come from to see where we're going to go in the future. So I'll just play that for you now.
Since the beginning of time, humans have desired to communicate. From the cave paintings of Lascaux to the designs of Banksy and LaForce, the evolution of visual literacy has emerged. Early human markings, called petroglyphs, consisted of carved and painted figures, animals, and signs represented spoken language. Around 3100 BC, Sumerians settled in Mesopotamia and began drawing petroglyphs in clay tablets, which represented abstract ideas. These symbols, called cuneiform, were combined to form words and phrases. The Egyptians also had their own version of writing, hieroglyphics, as well as they developed papyrus for writing on. Using papyrus, the Egyptians combined words and pictures to produce illustrated manuscripts. As time went on, cuneiforms and hieroglyphics evolved into alphabets. These alphabets varied slightly between cultures. The Latin and Greek alphabets were combined to create the alphabet we use today. Substrates for writing also evolved from papyrus to parchment made from animal skins. Calligraphy and other lettering styles began developing, which led into typography. Woodblock printing became popular in Asia, in which designs were carved out of wood and then printed onto paper. Playing cards were some of the earliest prints and eventually evolved into block books. Johann Gutenberg revolutionized bookmaking by creating the printing press. Copperplate engraving began, allowing all people to buy art. The Renaissance brought about early logo designs, illuminated letters, and new typefaces. Many fonts that were created during this time are still used today. Renaissance designers liked floral decoration, which is seen in many forms of art, including prints. During the Industrial Revolution, graphic communications became widely available with new technologies. Friedrich Koenig designed a steam-powered press, which allowed high-speed printing. Artists Walter Crane and Randolph Caldecott developed toy books for children. Magazines and periodicals were created to inform the people, and photography was invented as a new communications tool. George Eastman created the Kodak camera in 1888, allowing the public to document their lives. The arts and crafts movement began as a reaction to the Industrial Revolution. The Century Guild emerged, among other societies and guilds, consisting of artists and designers. They created the Hobby Horse, which was the first printed magazine devoted solely to the visual arts. Books became an art form. The Guild created the bridge between the arts and crafts movement and Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau was an international decorative style that was in all aspects of designer arts. Art Nouveau forms and lines were invented rather than copied from nature. Artists such as Cheret, Grissot, Beardsley, and Toulouse-Lautrec became popular during this time. As the 20th century began, artists searched for new ways to express themselves. Artists like Wright, MacDonald, McIntosh, Hoffman, and Behrens, among others, developed new styles and influences for today's designers. Decorative, product, book, and poster design, as well as trademarks, architecture, and font design, exploded with creative revolutions that altered the role of art and design in society. Visual communication was influenced further by Cubism, Dada and Surrealism, Still, Constructivism, and Expressionism movements. Ideas about color, form, space, and subject all focused around social protest and deeply personal emotional states. Posters became important to communication as World War I progressed, and the government used them for visual persuasion and propaganda. Art Deco posters were elegant and sophisticated, while constructivist posters were more geometric with strong typography. The Distill movement started in the Netherlands and reduced the elements of book design to the primary colors and straight lines. Ideas from various art and design movements were combined and applied to the problems of functionality and machine production at a German design school called Bauhaus. Many modern type fonts were produced at the Bauhaus. With the popularity of the modern art movement in America, magazine design flourished. Bazaar, View, and Vogue were inspirations for other magazines in the U.S. Advertisements for everything from food to furniture led the country into the age of information. A series of new fonts were developed, including Universe, Arial, and Helvetica. Many European designers immigrated to the U.S. to escape their political climate and became major influences in American design. New York became the center of the movement in the 1940s. Emphasis was placed on the expression of ideas and presentation of information. Artists like Rand and Bass designed many well-known company logos, such as UPS, IBM, Girl Scouts, and United Way, to help relate to diverse audiences. The MTV logo was designed, redefining visual identity in the digital age. A new conceptual approach to illustration dawned as Glaser, Trask, Sorrell, and Ruffins founded Pushpin Studios in 1954. Together they created the Pushpin Almanac, a newsletter for graphic designers that united illustration with typography and design. Poster design became popular in the 1960s and 70s, highlighting everything from social activism to hippie life. During the 1980s and 90s, the development of electronic and computer technology began to change the processes and appearance of design. Postmodern design expressed a climate of cultural change and artists began to explore the range of design possibilities. New Wave Typography, the Memphis Group, Retro Design, the Electronic Revolution, Supermannerism, and Supergraphics all formed out of postmodernism. Designers began using bold geometric shapes of bright color, varied scale and typeset at unusual angles, focusing on historical revival and technical expression. The digital revolution changed visual communication even further. Digital technology and advanced software expanded the creative potential of graphic design. Apple Computer developed the Macintosh computer. Adobe Systems invented the PostScript program, and all this created PageMaker. Digital type took place of calligraphers and hand letterers. Digital imaging replaced film cameras, and computer communications took a huge leap forward with the development of the Internet. The graphic design community is now involved in media graphics, systems design, and computer graphics. The need for clear and imaginative visual communications has never been greater. Graphic designers have a responsibility to adapt new technology and continue inventing new ways of expressing ideas.
Alright, so that gives us a bit of an idea about where we've come from and where we're looking to go in the future. So first thing that I wanted to focus on here is the invention of computers. Now, with the invention of computers, we got things like scanners, printers, software, which gives us programs like Photoshop. So Photoshop, even though, as I said before, Corel PageMaker started it, Photoshop really exploded the market. So it revolutionized our design processes, which allowed designers to make changes to poster layouts within minutes rather than hours, days, or sometimes weeks, like we used to do in the days before computers, where everything was done by hand. So Photoshop has evolved over the last 25 odd years, I think it's a bit more than that now, to be an integral tool used by almost every aspect of print, web, video, and now 3D production. So computers simplified our whole work process of a graphic designer. We can complete projects at home or at work now, and we can do it in a much shorter period of time than we ever were able to before. So the applications on the things like Photoshop included things like fonts, font size, leading, and things like that. You could change those within the program without actually having to send it off to a typesetter, which is what you used to do. So those jobs actually became redundant while we actually created new jobs for different people. So I'm just going to show you a video. This one's a bit longer this time. I'm just going to show you a video that gives you an example of how graphic design used to be done, and it also goes through comparisons to doing it in Photoshop or in the programs of today. So you just have an idea of how we used to do it and why it used to take so much time, and how we do it today, and how it's so much quicker. So I'll show you that as well.
You know, 30 years ago, design was entirely different. It used to be all analog and all physical. When I look out on the landscape today and I see that, everybody knows what Helvetica is, 12-year-olds have a concept of what typefaces are and rules or any of the terms that we used to use. It's amazing to me because it used to be such a small group that knew how to manage this physical labor to do any project. So I'm going to take, for example, this print app and try to show what the process would be to recreate something like this. Now imagine I don't have this to begin with. I've got to sketch this out and put it down on paper. So I've already done a bunch of hand-drawn sketches and kind of gotten the flavor of, I want a big image, and I think I'll have a headline here and this here. We're going to set this aside and walk through how to do this. Now, the first thing I need to know is how big this is. Now, I've already measured it and I've decided it is 10 by 12. So, using these rapidographs, which were these very fine pens. Now, on the end of all the rapidographs is a numeral. This is 0.80. 0.80 is reflecting the term that this is a 0.80 rule, just like you would have a 0.25 rule or a 0.5 rule or a 1 point rule in Photoshop or InDesign or Illustrator. There is no such thing in these as a 0.175 rule. They are all round numbers, which is why we base them on today. And these pens were a mess, frankly. Fill them up yourself with ink. You can see I'm already getting ink all over my hands. They came out of this. In there, I'm not taking it out because it'll fly all over the place, is ink that I have filled up with this little container. And the ink flows through here until it dries out. And then I have to wash it, make sure nothing's dried up in there, and do it again. So I've used my rapidograph, and I've already measured out the size of this ad, and I've used my T-square and my triangle to draw these lines. And I've made sure that it's all squared up and nice and neat. And I've used my triangle to draw the other sides as well. Not as simply as setting up a document and calling it 9 by 12. It's like I had to know exactly what size it was. If I got that wrong, it'd go off and the art would be the wrong size, and it wouldn't work. So now that I've figured out the size of my piece, and I have my rough sketch of what I want to do, I probably talked to a photographer, and I said, Betty, I need a photograph of this young lady, and I want her to hold the camera, and I'd love her to have a red background. And the photograph has been shot. I've gone through a bunch of choices with the photographer and landed on the one that I like. And she then has sent me over a copy of one. And it's just a black and white Xerox. It's just a cheap thing that I can work with. And I can crop it any way I want. And of course, to crop it, I'm going to have to figure that out. I don't have the digital tool to do cropping. I'm just going to have to decide, that looks, she's better cropped in. Maybe I should get rid of a little bit more of her hair. Once I figured that out, I'm ready to place her down. We have the fun job of working with things like rubber cement. And we would put that on the back of these things to get a sense of, let's see, how will this work? Brush it down. I don't have to put too much on it, obviously, because it just has to last until I show it to the client. I put my rubber cement down, and I'm ready to lay her down. Now, I also need to mathematically know how wide this is, because there's no guides, and I can't depend on a center tool to tell me exactly where it is. I have to really check it myself. Now, if I didn't like this, if I'm like, it's a little too low or a little too high, let's pick it up. That's the undo feature. You get to just pick this up and say, it's like slide around a little bit. After a day, it's not going to be that easy once it's dry, but while I'm doing it, it's no problem. I got the image down. That looks swell. I'm happy with it. Now, in order to get tight, it wasn't a matter of like type it in and you get to see, boy, that looks swell in Helvetica. I had to sort of have a sense of what I want. Well, gee, do I like Helvetica or on camera? I'm not sure. I would take manuscript copy, which was typewritten out, and I would write on it Helvetica, 24 points, on 24 points of lead. And I'd send that to a typographer. And the typographer or the typesetter would send it back to me typeset. So I'd get these pieces of paper, and I'd have to trim them out, and it took about 24 hours to get some type back. So from the time I wrote it up, I told her, I got this. And because it takes so long, I want to get as many choices as I can. So I don't have to wait another 24 hours if I don't like this. So I have it set by that typesetter in different sizes, and I have it set in different fonts, so that I can look at it and say, that Garamond looks pretty good. Or, you know what, if it's not big enough, well, I have my 24-point Garamond. That looks better. But you want to have those choices. And it wasn't simply a matter of change font. It was a 24-hour process. It was manual. If I didn't like the kerning on this, if I was like, the letter spacing looks funny, guess what? I get to take my X-Acto knife, cut it out by hand, and slowly shift things over, which is not fun, but I have done that for many hours. I got my headline, got my image down. Clients also asked for some additional images. So he's provided me with these images of slide carousels and projectors. Now, the original image came with a background. I didn't like the background. I wanted it silhouetted. So the only way to silhouette something was to take the image and then this stuff that we call ruby lift. And the ruby lift is this red film. So we make a mask with this, which is why in Photoshop, when you make a mask, it appears as red, because it's emulating the ruby lift concept. And I would take the ruby lift and I'd lay it down on top of my image with the full thing, and I would have to manually trim out that silhouette. So I've done a really snappy job trimming this out, let's pretend that, and I've gotten back my image, which looks beautiful, silhouetted on white, and I can decide then where I want these to go. So once again, I've got these little Xeroxes that let me know where they go. They're not in color, so I can imagine what it looks like in color, because it would be too expensive to try to make color prints at this point if I were going to cut them up and move them around and try different things. And so I'm happy with my layout. And I take this to my art director or the client, and I show it to them, and they say, well, we like that a lot, it's looking really good, but we think that model has a funny blemish. Is there anything we can do about that? So I'll call the photographer and say, she's got a blemish. Now, it's not a digital file, it's an actual transparency or a print photograph. So the photographer will then take an airbrush, which is a physical object, and they will go in and airbrush all of these pieces on her. It was very expensive, but it was worth it. It was really important to have something that had to be fixed. Now the other thing that might have happened is I've shown this to the client or the art director. The client says, you know what? I think that type needs to be underlined because it's really important. I don't have time to send out for more type. I don't have 24 hours. It has to go to the printer today. So there was this stuff called leprosy, and it was rubbed down. Now, I could either use my rapidograph and try to draw the rules, but have it perfect, no changes at all in thickness, and that's tricky. Or I could use the letter set. And the letter set worked great. I could say, okay, again, where do I want it? I would measure down. I would use my triangle and T-square to make sure it's exactly square. And then that would get rubbed down. And I would have my burnisher and I would rub this down until I got what I wanted. Now, this is down there permanently, so I can't change it. I hope it's stuck. Ta-da. Okay, good. Now, you can see there's cracks in it. It's not pretty. It never was actually ever flawless. You might also say, you know, I don't like that headline font. Again, I don't have time, so what can I do? I have the letter set. I know, well, I've got this whole bed. I've got a 42 point in my drawer. What if maybe that'll or like that? And I can do the same thing. Now, the end product is going to be not terribly pretty. And there's always a chance he may want something else that's a little fancier, like, gee, wouldn't it be swell if we've got a beautiful French curve in here? Well, there's no métier tools. So I have this whole box of French rules which make these kinds of curves. And I can lay this down on the image, and I can trim it out. I'll mark, well, this is exactly where I want that French curve to be this shape here. Beautifully. And then I get to take my ruby lip again and try to perfectly trim it out to that exact rule. So again, it's a physical and manual labor tool, but you have to be pretty good at it. My very first job, the art director didn't even trust exact numbers. She said they're too clumsy and too fat. So we had to either use surgical scalpels or raw razor blades. Those are not fun to play with. So, you know, you have to be very good about it. I have all my pieces done. My whole layout is finished. This is the final document. This is a mechanical. Now, the mechanical has to get overlaid with instructions to the printer. Make this red, make this white, make these color images. Tells them exactly what I want to have happen there. And then I give it to a messenger, and they messenger it over to the printer. Now, if something happens to it along the way, if it falls off the truck, and the rain gets ruined, you can start all over again, scratch. There's no backup of this. So the printer gets it, he has all my instructions, he can put them together, and he's a good printer. I get something really nice, just like this. So you can see, it was a process that took a lot of manual labor. It was physical skills, and everyone had their own particular way of doing it. But it wasn't just this everyday, all over the place thing that every mother could do. This was an actual graphic art skill. Hence the insularness of the profession at the time, which was great, but maybe it's better now that it's much more open and everybody knows what font is.
There we go. So, what do you reckon about how they used to do it? It took forever to do anything. You know, it sort of reminds me when you're a kid and you're actually, arts and crafting and pasting things together, but this has to be so precise, so exact. So, we're, I think, much better off with Photoshop and Illustrator than we are, than we were back in those days. Alright, so the second point I want to get to is the internet. So internet goes hand in hand with computers. The internet was invented to be able to get the computers to talk to each other. So the main thing that the internet has done is just made it so much quicker for designers to send their designs off to clients to get approved. So instead of, as you said, doing a courier and sending it by a courier, or even getting the client to come in, or you go to the client, which is all travel time, you just email it off. Client gets it almost immediately, checks it, sends it back in just as much time. So it's just made, getting approval for things so much easier and quicker. So with the invention of the internet as well, it's also created new jobs for designers. So as our first video has said, we've created jobs such as web designers, software designers, program designers, all that sort of stuff. We've actually, created new jobs. So with the internet and computers, some jobs became obsolete, such as a typesetter, but we have created new jobs and things like that for us. So the next point I want to touch on is smartphones. Now, smartphones, next evolution of computers and the internet combined, it's mobile technology. You get to take it everywhere with you. So it's changed how we display and consume content in the last couple of years. So it has only been a recent technology. 20 years ago we didn't have smartphones. We barely had mobile phones, and we had big bricks that you had to take around. So the technology now with smartphones, it's such a big part of our lives. It's become like our companion. Bring it along, and do anything you want it to do and that sort of thing. And it can give you all the information that you want at any time that you want. So, for example, do you remember the last time that you actually went a whole day without using your mobile phone? Because I don't. I have it on me all the time, and always constantly looking at it, playing games, things like that. So with smartphones and the mobile web, it's had such a big influence on the graphic design community. Websites have had to become slicker, more streamlined and more focused, giving mobile users a smoother experience and helping speed up browsing for everyone. Because you're used to having a website that you look on a computer that's this big, we've had to change the way we do things, so now it's on the screen this big. So we've had to move with the times and change the way we design websites to be able to make sure that when you look at them on your phone, they look correct and right. Because before you try and look at it on your mobile and they were all over the place and it was all messed up. So we've had to actually change our processes to be able to make sure that when we look on our devices that they're correct. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just a quick activity. It's just going to go through a little bit of designing and how it's changed, how it used to be, to how we sort of do it a bit today. So it's a bit more interactive with with it. So if you want to all open up your laptops and get that link that I emailed you earlier today, should all be in your email box inbox there. We'll open it up, we'll have a bit of a play, and it only takes about 5 minutes or so, but it gives you a bit more interactivity, a little bit more information about what we've sort of talked about already. Alright, let's go.
designers. They turn ideas into designs, and this is their studio. Nice, isn't it? It's an urban live workspace, apparently. The client wants a design to promote his organic milk company. The designers have some big ideas, and the client has no idea. Luckily, a good brief will define the scope of the project. Lots of designers start by sketching their initial ideas on paper. Your basic graphite pencil comes in grades varying from 2H to 9B. H pencils are harder and used for fine lines. Click to start designing. B pencils are softer and ideal for shading. Click to use this one. Coloured pencils are an easy way to add colour. Have a go with this one. Some are even water soluble, so you can blend them to create different tones. Felt tip pens are used for adding areas of bold, flat colour. Click to try one. They can be water or spirit-based. Water-based ones can give streaky looking results. Spirit-based are better, but you'll need to use bleed-proof paper. Freehand drawing is one thing, but if you need to design something a bit more technical, drawing tools can help. Get started on the packaging design using these tools. Parallel motion bars are usually attached to drawing boards. They're used to draw parallel lines or support other drawing tools. Click to set up your workspace. The 3060 set square is used to draw isometric shapes, like packaging. Click to start drawing the carton. A pair of compasses is used for drawing circles and arcs. Click to add the finishing touches. Nice job! These days, a lot of designers use computers. Not surprising, given the sort of things you can do with them. You can use a scanner to import your original artwork, so you can edit on the screen. Drag the paper into the scanner. Or you can start from scratch using a graphics package. There are different types of graphics applications. Computer-aided design, or CAD, is the digital equivalent of the drawing tools that you just saw. It's used for 2D or 3D technical drawings or designing plans. For creating designs like company logos, you need drawing software. It has tools for creating, editing and modifying images, which means that you can change the colours, apply filters to create effects, and use drawing tools to add finishing touches. Designs on computers are often made up of different layers, which helps organise the details and to make things easier to edit. There are two types of image, bitmap and vector. Bitmap graphics are made from a grid of tiny dots called pixels. They are created and edited with software like Photoshop or GIMP, which by the way stands for Graphic Imaging and Manipulation Package. The amount of detail in an image depends on the number of pixels per square inch, or PSI. Bitmaps are perfect for detailed images like photos. The downside is that they're not very scalable. When you enlarge them, they don't quite look so good. Use the slider to zoom in and see for yourself. Vector software, like Illustrator, makes images from individual coordinates joined by lines, called vector paths. When you enlarge a vector image, the software works out the new distance between coordinates, so you can change its size without altering the level of detail. So, the same vector image can be used at almost any scale, in all sorts of applications. With just their minds and a range of graphic media, the designers have come up with loads of amazing concepts. Yes, that's it. A milk carton for milk. Brilliant. Well, it might have taken them 6 months, but that is one happy client.
Alright, so how was that? How do you feel about, where we've come from? and what we do today. So I think we've come quite far and we're doing quite well. Alright, so how do we monitor and implement technology? So we've gone through what new technologies have been created in the last couple of decades and how we've implemented those. But how do we get on the watch, look out and see what we can do for the future? So the main thing we can do is monitor new technologies by following industry leaders. These are people in our industry who are forward thinkers. They're the first adopters of new technologies, and they give us ideas about how we can use them in our practices. So they like to adopt a few new technologies there. The other thing we can do is our own research. Google it, that's what it's there for, is to find out things that's going on. So you can go through and research, what technology is currently being developed or what's going to be released shortly. And it's a good way of, knowing what's going on and how, you can think about how you can, look into putting it into your processes when it becomes available or when it becomes more, readily available to the public. So attending design conferences is actually another good way as well. Design conferences, let you see what's coming, let you, let companies tell you what they're going to be available to give you, for you to use, be it video effects, be it, computer programs or software and things like that. So it really great at businesses pushing to you what they're going to do rather than you having to do your own research. And they give you demos so you can see how it might work when you get it and play with it and things like that. So the other thing is with software, we've got like Photoshop and things like that, and there's all with Photoshop CC now, you've got it that it's a subscription service, so anytime there's a new update you can get it automatically, and that's really great because what they do is they put those new technologies into those updates so that you can go through and play with it without having an extra cost or much of an extra cost to be able to play with those new types of technologies and see how they work with your processes and how you can incorporate them. But with it, if the new technology that becomes available cannot be integrated into current software, for example, things like 3D printing, you can't just go and, do a 3D printing from Photoshop. You have to have special programs and special equipment and things like that, special programs and things like that. So with that, it can be quite intimidating when you have new technology that you have to actually purchase and pay, for starters, usually big money for. It can be quite intimidating and how to know how to integrate it and how to play with it and things like that. But most designers I know are pretty tech savvy or quite into the newest technology, so they love to get in and be one of the first people to be able to play with it and show what you can do and things like that. So also designers are also constantly looking to streamline their workflow, make it easier, quicker and more cutting edge than ever, and as new technologies are introduced and as they grow and evolve, they become part of a designer's work process, because you've got to always keep up with the current market, and you've got to try, if not keep up, try and be ahead of the ball, because with nowadays technology you just have to be able to show what you've got and to be able to show that you're not getting left behind. Alright, so as technology continues to advance, the development of the graphic design world will continue to push the limits of what's possible. So, we always try to be cutting edge. Graphic design is one of those mediums that, is always out there and is always showing where we're going to go ahead. It's in everything that we do. It's on our phones, computers, it's billboards, it's newspapers, anything that's got pictures and text, we're trying to, get it out there for you. So technology is helping us, do that. And, in every time period in history, artists have always broadened the scope of what could be achieved, and today it's no different. Instead of, new types of paints that can become available, it's new types of programs instead. So, we've got new and powerful tools to play with, and artists and designers are creating works of art to depict stories and reflect the world around us in vibrant and vivid detail, especially now more than ever, with high definition technology becoming available. Alright, so that's it, we're all done. Oops. We'll go back to that, shall we? We'll go down, where are we? There we go. She fell asleep on us. Okay, so that's all done. I hope you guys learned something today. We've gone through and talked about new technologies and work processes in graphic design, how historically we've made those changes and how we look into the future to be able to make further changes. So I hope you got a great idea, and I hope everyone had a great time, and thanks for coming today. And I hope you liked my presentation and I did well. And then that's it, that concludes today's session, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. Now, if you are interested in any more design classes like this, I'm more than happy to go through and do another one, but you'll just have to let the front desk know so we can take names, and when we've got enough numbers and enough interest, then we can look into doing another one for you. Okay? Thank you. Bye.